My aunt's spoiled son broke the only thing I had left from my grandfather after it was one of the only things that survived an earthquake, and she tried to refuse to repay for it, so I made her pay by ruining her life. This whole thing started exactly a year ago but just ended, and a friend told me to post here, so off we go. I live in Turkey, and as you know, southeast of my country was wrecked by a couple of giant earthquakes a year ago. My city was the epicenter, and while the house I lived with my family wasn't destroyed, a lot of shelves got knocked off, and one of them was the one where I held my gunpla kits. Out of all the kits I had, only one survived, a MG that was heavily customized. I had built it with my grandfather who passed away a few years ago, so I was ecstatic it survived. A few months after everything had calmed down, so my mother called her relatives for dinner, which included Aunt B. Not for batch, her name does start with a letter B. She came alongside her son, which is 8 and is an entitled brat. While the adults were drinking coffee, this little brat barged in my room and demanded to play with my computer, which I refused since I was editing a video for my college society and had the camera on. Well, the brat went back crying to her mother, who came and started yelling at me. While I was dealing with her, the little brat climbed my desk and took my model kit, then immediately dropped it and stepped on it. Rest is just yelling, me swearing them up and down and telling them they were going to pay for it, with her calling me a weirdo for still having toys and that she wasn't going to pay for anything. My mother was at first a bit not into making her pay to keep peace, but when she realized it is the kit I made with my late grandfather, her father, she was angrier than I was and went out for blood. We took the case to a friend of ours who is a lawyer that specializes within family cases, and they told us since my camera caught it all, we would definitely win it, but it was better to come to an agreement out of court in a settlement since it will be cheaper. I pulled out a price list of the kits I needed to make an exact replica of the one that was destroyed, and it came just about 1K USD, which came to about 25K 27K try with the exchange rate. Well, she refused, so we took her to court. She pulled all kinds of BS to not pay and delay, but the judge ended up making her pay 1,650 used plus an order for her to pay any border taxes on the replacement kits alongside the court and lawyer fees. It completely screwed her savings, and her husband, who was already waiting for a chance to divorce her, took it. When it all ended up, she had nothing and even lost her brat's custody to her ex-husband, and she not only lost the down payment she had for a house, she lost all her savings and didn't get alimony from her husband. Am I happy her life got completely screwed? No, not really. Do I feel sorry it happened? Not in the slightest. She and her crotch goblin screwed around and found out, it's that simple. I feel bad for her husband though, he is going to be the one trying to make that brat into a normal person, and I don't envy it in the slightest. Update. Well, the time judge gave my aunt to pay what she owed me came and went, but she didn't make any payment at all, so we legally had to push the case into legal collectment. Cops went to her house, but she wasn't there. She was in her house, but didn't make any noise, so cops had to leave and get a search permit to enter to look for her. They found her inside, having sold her everything and ready to illegally leave the country to not pay anything and start a new life abroad. When they were apprehending her, she attacked the cops, actually clawed the eye of one, causing permanent damage and adding multiple charges to her file. She was taken to court again, this time for more crimes alongside not making a payment in time, the court told her last time. I'm not sure if I can legally list all the things she was charged with, but in the end she got 18 years and 9 months jail time with no chance of parole until the 15th year. And yes, since she had sold her everything to leave the country, the court took the amount she had to pay us, recalculated to today's tax numbers and exchange rates, before putting the rest of the money in an account that her son would get when he is 18. As for her brat, in the first post I had told that when her husband divorced her he had gotten custody. Well, the kid's personality was so bad he took him to a psychiatrist, which decided because of my aunt's bad parenting he was showing personality issues. He is now in a pre-military boarding school for troubled kids, which he hates completely. As for the money, I would love to say I used it to get the parts necessary to remake that kit, but I had to put it in a saving accounts. The government recently changed border tax systems, so the previous money became a substantial amount with the new numbers, like hilariously so. As much as I would love to spend it all on gunpla, I have to think about future, so it's gonna stay in a savings account getting fatter by the day until I graduate.